Guys, and welcome to another TA update. Today is the 7th of September 2022. It's just gone 11:15 a.m. I've just updated OBS, which is the streaming software, and it's been a fucking nightmare. So apologies in advance if things start going tits up. Like, if there's too much lag on the video, or if the audio's not working or whatever, I've had to go back to the settings and try and get this as close as possible to what it was before the update. But so it's just a bit of a pain in the ass. I'll have to mess around with the settings and see if I can get this right, but hopefully it will all go well. I'm just going to check that the audio and the video are working. Everything seems to be working fine. So I'll just crack on. So anyway, the calendar for this week. Just let me know in the chat if there's anything that's not working, or if it's gone a little bit weird or whatever. Just let me know and I'll keep an eye on that. All right. Cheers. So for this week, we've got we haven't got a lot today, although we've got the monetary policy report hearings here in the UK. And then we've got some of the FOMC meeting people like Brainard and Messer speaking, but again, nothing really that special. Tomorrow, however, we've got ECB, so the European Central Bank press conference. We've also got the main refinancing rate, which is basically the refinancing rate for central banks, and this is issued by the European Central Bank. We've also got the monetary policy statement regarding the European central banks, and on top of that we've got Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell speaking, okay, at 10 past 2 p.m. right? So this is all happening just after lunchtime here in the UK. So I expect volatility tomorrow. Now the UK and the rest of Europe is in a bit of a pickle. If you guys don't know about it, just look it up. The economy is in a bit of a it's very high inflation, especially in Europe. Supply chain crisis, energy prices of all-time highs. Putin just decided to turn the gas off. There's just a plethora of things that are telling you that the volatility is they're gonna be very, very how can I say, very hawkish going into these meetings, because they have to be seen to tackle the inflation. Now, they're talking about 75 basis points, maybe 50 basis points for the European Central Bank. It really depends. What we have noticed as well, or what I've noticed, is that really there's a lot more relative to the S&P and Bitcoin. There's a lot more weight to be put onto the Federal Reserve, right, and to the dollar. And there is this thing called the dollar milkshake theory. And if you don't know what that is, please Google. It's called the dollar milkshake theory, and it's about the injection of liquidity or the lack of liquidity into the markets, and how the US dollar plays a huge part in this, right, in the global economy. Now, like I said, Google the dollar milkshake theory. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, just go and read that, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. In the meantime, I will put an article that I found really useful in the dojo. So if you guys are part of the dojo, just look that up and read about it, and familiarize yourself with that. So what I'm trying to say is that even though everything is connected, and we pay mostly attention to the US dollar and what's happening with the Federal Reserve, there's a lot of shit happening with the European central banks right now that could affect the dollar as well, right? Because it's, I don't know if you've heard of the term euro dollars. The DXY is affected by the euro as well. So, if the euro decides to collapse and the European central banks decide to be really hawkish regarding all this is going to affect all the markets. It's not just the US dollar that affects the market. So anyway, tomorrow I think we're going to expect big volatility. It's a big week in terms of it's a big day in terms of what could happen in terms of monetary policy. Also on Friday we've got the European Union Economic Summit, right? Even though the summit itself, because this is happening all day, the summit itself will not kick off any volatility, but what happens during that summit could indeed cause volatility, right? So you just got to keep in mind Thursday and Friday could be, especially Thursday, could be very volatile, very volatile. Next week we've got, let's have a look at this. We've got the CPI on Tuesday. So this is all leading to this. We've got the CPI, the core CPI, and of course we've got also the PPI, right? So we got the GBP on Thursday, which is basically the monetary policy summary for the Bank of England, right? The official bank rates. And then you've got all of the Empire State Manufacturing Index, retail sales, core retail sales on Thursday. But that's not really that relevant. What's relevant here is Tuesday with the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, which is, again, the main measure of inflation, right? So this is all leading to what's going to happen on Tuesday next week. But this week, like I said, Thursday is going to be a big day tomorrow, right? So just pay attention to this, especially around about the New York session time, because I am expecting volatility towards that, right? So let's move on to the charts. I'm going to start here with the S&P. Now, if we look at the S&P on the 3-day chart here, you can see that we are basically back at, let me just change this to yellow so it's a little bit distinguishable. So we're back at the 2021 value area low, right? That's this line here. So we're back there. So we're back at support. Okay, we came all the way back here again. Now here we could bounce here, as we've already tapped, as you can see from those wicks there. These little wicks here have already tapped the lower edge of this high volume cluster here, right? So there's potential for a bounce there. If this low volume node is acting as support and you consider this being a one of the high volume clusters, we've already traveled that high volume cluster. We dipped below it and now we're re-entering it again. If that's the case, we could end up going all the way back up to here, to 3,998 points, 4,000 points, right? All the way up to here. And then just kind of maybe rotate here for a while, right? I do expect the liquidity to kind of like dry up even more a little bit, like leading up to the CPI. But like I said, there is volatility coming tomorrow, hopefully. So just bear that in mind. Either way, we've already tapped support and it looks like we're on our way up. Okay, so there's that regarding the on the higher time frames here, on long-term VWAPs. If I look here at the 12-hour chart, you can see there also that low that we've just tapped, that low volume node that I showed you on the volume profile, which is the 2021 value area low, also happens to be the last quarter's, you know, the prior quarter value area low there, right? It comes all the way from there. So again, another higher time frame level of confluence there, around about 3,888 points. On the monthly, which is the 4-hour chart, you can see that the previous month, so basically the month of July, close here, right? So this was the close, this is the value area low, this was the value area high. Once we lost the value area high, we came back down, and where have we bounced? Exactly at the VWAP close, which has confluence, again, like I said, with that low volume node. So you can see there, at least on 3 higher time frame reference points, right, that there's room to it's overextended and there's room for support here. Basically, it's hit 3 very key levels, right, contextual levels: the value area low of the previous quarter, the value area low of 2021, and now the VWAP close of the previous month, of the month of July, right? Additionally, if you look at the weekly VWAP here, you can see that the -2 standard deviation, which is basically this line here, lines up perfectly as well to where we bounced. So all the time frames are lining up, telling you that we've kind of reached an extension, you know, a level of support, right? Now, this is what I can see on the higher time frames in terms of like contextual levels. Of course, now we've got, that's the level of support that we've just hit, right? Now let's have a look at the levels of resistance. Now, obviously, levels of resistance, I'll start with the lower time frames here. We've got this weekly VWAP here, right? If I look at that weekly VWAP, it's exactly where we are right now. We're exactly at that weekly VWAP. So let's just delete that right now, okay? If, however, we reclaim this weekly VWAP here, if we reclaim this and we go on to the next level of interest is around about 3,950 points. And that's basically the previous week value area low. right? That previous week value area low is very close to the current week's value area high, and it's also very close, if you look here on the 4-hour chart, it's very close to where the monthly VWAP is. I've just circled that. I'm going to delete that so you can see where we are. That's very close to where the monthly VWAP is. Okay, so that'll be the next level, 3,940 points. Okay, break above that and we go on to the next level, which is 3,990 points. Okay, which is the previous week's, I'm going on the bottom left hand corner here, the previous week's VWAP close. Right, which if you look on the top right hand corner here, you can see that it's very close to the current quarterly VWAP. So you can see how this is starting to line up a little bit, right? So first level of resistance, we're looking at 3,940 points. If we break above that, we're looking at 3,990 points. And then we are very close to all the levels of resistance, really. Because then it comes to around about this level here, right? 3,990 points is about this level here, which is where the low volume node is, or the end of this high volume cluster. And then we'll have to evaluate, because we've also got the value area low of 2022 there. So what I'm saying is that even if we are to go and print new lows, because like I said, we were saying that, oh, this could be the change in terms of dynamics, right? High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then we printed a higher high here, right? This is the higher high, and now we're going to see if we can print a higher low, and this could indeed be the higher low, right? We might be going and taking out these lows yet, but either way, we don't know that, right? So we'll have to observe what happens here at around about 4,000 points. But even if it does go all the way up here, right? Because the Federal Reserve is scared that it's making things worse. It's got to try and look a little bit more dovish because the markets are crashing and everything else, and lack of consumer confidence, and the bonds are really at all-time lows and everything. So if they start not pivoting, but if they start going a little bit softer, then there's a potential for a rally here, right? So what happens here is crucial at 4,000 points. Do we break above it and go back inside of this high volume cluster here, right? Which means target the year's VWAPs and everything else, or do we simply roll over there? Go here and then roll over to print out those new lows. And this was just a bull trap. Potentially that can happen, right? But either way, this is the level you want to be watching for, 4,000 points. And like I showed you here on the lower time frames, if you look at that, at all the time frames, it lines up perfectly, right? The quarterly lines up with the previous week, and it also lines up with the previous month's value area high here. Okay, all very close, and it's also very close, like I said, 3,990 points. It is very close to that low volume node, to the high of the high volume cluster, the HVE, if you like. Okay, so with all that in mind, just trying to simplify things, we are definitely at resistance here with the weekly VWAP here on the S&P. But like I said, all other time frames are telling us that we've just hit an important level of support. They all line up in contextual levels, right? So the yearly, the quarterly, and the monthly. So if we can break above the weekly, then the monthly VWAP is where is where we're going next. And of course, if we go up, Bitcoin's likely to go up, right? If we can break above this, then we carry on higher. And like I said, the next level will be that contention level just below 4,000 points, 3,990. However, if we cannot break above the monthly VWAP, then that means that we're rotational inside of this level here, right? And just because we've hit this one does not mean, if we get here and it gets rejected, it does not mean that we have to go up. Absolutely not. We've already tested it here, and we've already tested it here. So we could be rotational. And if that is the case, then we're heading to much lower, to 3,790 points, 3,800 points, way down here. Okay, so that monthly VWAP is crucial. But like I said, we are currently kind of like in terms of higher time frames, higher contextual level. 2021 value area low, the previous quarter value area low. We're at the month of July VWAP close, And we've also seemed to have gained acceptance inside the current week's value area, right? So, you know, let's see what happens now. 3,900 points is where we're at right now. We bounced at 3,885. So I think it's overextended. If you look at this objectively here on the 4-hour chart, for example, right? It's just that we're not even testing the previous highs here. It's kind of overextended here. If I was to put, for example, let me just put here a +2 standard deviation here. So I've just put a second standard deviation on the VWAP, right? And basically, you'll be able to see that these second standard deviations, especially on the downside, they tend to get respected, right? Goes up, came back down here, touched it, and then here we went to the monthly VWAP here, reset, came back down. Look at where it's bouncing. It's previous value area low, but it's also where the -2 standard deviation is. And here, look at what determined the highs, +2 standard deviation. So here we are again, this month's, which admittedly it's only the first week, so I shouldn't pay much attention to it. That's why I'm paying more attention to the static levels of the previous months, right? So the prior value is what I'm looking at. But this month's, we've already tapped the current month's -2 standard deviation. So, you know, on higher time frames, like I said, in contextual levels, it does look like we want to head up now, right? Even if it's just to test the higher levels, okay? And like I said, 3,990 points is where I'm looking for those contextual levels, right? So I'll put a little yellow line here on the bottom left. That's the previous week's VWAP, and look at where it lands there, right? +2 standard deviation, very close to the quarterly VWAP there, current quarters, and also very close to the high edge of this high volume cluster here on the yearly on the top left hand corner, right? So I don't want to repeat myself, but that's basically what I'm seeing right now. Of course, we could be heading lower as well, and if that's the case, then you'll be looking really at this whole thing as one volume cluster, and of course that means we're going all the way to 3,600 points, especially if there's volatility to the downside, because as you can imagine, yes, we've got a little bit of we've got the -2 standard deviation there, we've got this 2021 value area high, but look at the volume here. It's tapering. Price will accelerate very fucking quickly around there, right? So if there's volatility to the downside and they're going to be extremely hawkish or extremely aggressive with how they tackle inflation, that's where we're heading, 3,600 points. But like I said, I think we've got room to go up first, even if we are to go back down again. All right, so I just think it's overextended at the moment. So that's it for the S&P. Move on to Bitcoin. And I guess we can start here with the, let me just take all the drawings off. I've got an alert set up here. Let me just take the alert off. Delete. Yes. All right. So let's start with the higher time frames, right? On the higher time frames, you can see where we are here. Basically, we've been accepted back inside so first and foremost, we've lost a particular, very important weekly level here at around about 20k, right? We've lost that one. We're heading down, and the next one is at around about $18,200. All right, so that's one thing. The other thing that it's important to notice here is that we're back inside 2020 value area, right? So this is prior value here, which had almost very close confluence with that weekly level, and we've just gotten below it. Okay, so you can see here there's a high volume cluster as well, and the low volume node below that cluster is around about 16,900. Okay, so let's just delete all of that for a second. Either way, it does look like we're getting accepted below this. Okay, if that's the case, we could be heading much lower, right? And like I said, if we start losing some of these key levels, right, there's hardly any volume here. until we get to about 12k, and that's why everybody's calling for 12k, right? But Bitcoin likes to play tricks. Bitcoin doesn't like doing what everybody else expects, right? If there's anything I've learned about Bitcoin. So just bear with me on this. On the quarterly chart, sorry, the quarterly VWAP, right? We're very close to that -2 standard deviation, right? If you look at previous quarters, you can see how it's bounced there on the -2. You can see that when it gets to the top, it's the +2 standard deviation, +2 standard deviation. When it comes back down, it's the -2 standard deviation, the -2 standard deviation. And then, you know, even though it's kind of like trying to get inside of balance again, and it stays within balance of the quarterlies, right? Here we got rejected off of there, but we're back at the -2 standard deviation. On the monthly, we've lost the prior value. Okay, so this looks well overextended. Again, I can put a +2 standard deviation on this. And the +2 standard deviation is around about 18k. The prior one anyway, about 18,200. Right, so I'm just trying to like paint a picture here. Now you can see that this low that we've just put in has perfect confluence with this one here, right? We've got sort of equal lows here. Not the greatest thing. And on the weekly chart, which is basically a 30-minute chart here on Bybit. Okay, and it's just a weekly. Let me just take this off a second. Just a weekly VWAP with standard deviations. Again, standard deviations, the second standard deviation works every time, right? Most of the time we're inside of value, right? We stay inside of value. Sometimes we poke out, but when we poke out, where does it actually get stopped? It gets stopped out at the second standard deviation, right? That's basically where it reverses to. Okay, so I'm going to leave that on, and it does look like we've just tapped it here, right? So now we wait for this to flatten out, and then that's your second standard deviation, which is sitting, like I said, around about 18,300, 18,200, right? So that's the higher time frame and the contextual levels on the long-term VWAPs, right? So the long-term VWAPs tell us that we could be heading lower because we've printed equal lows here, right? We could be taking out that $17,500 or whatever, but there's not a lot of volume below us, like I showed you here on the top left-hand corner. And if we go down, it could be disastrous, right? It could be very, very quick to the downside. So let me just show you on ExoCharts what I've been looking at, right? For now, actually, in fact, now let me just show you something else. So on this drop, I'm going to take the VWAPs off for just a second. What I tend to do is I put a volume profile on these drops and these ranges, right? And these are usually very effective. So if you go here from the previous high there onto the end of this balance there, you can see it gives you a value area high there and a value area low there. And every time we deviate above and then get accepted below, we go back to the other side. Same here, deviated below, accepted above, go to the other side. Accepted below, sorry, deviated below, accepted above, boom. And it just keeps doing that, right? Here we couldn't get above the point of control, right? But we tapped this value area low a number of times. That was acting as support. So even if you're just trading this, you're still making money. The point being is that it's important to know where your range boundaries are and, you know, potentially where the next range is going to be. And in order to do that, you just go onto this pane here, you grab the fixed range volume profile, right? You go onto the previous high, that's where I usually go, the point of release, where this dump started happening, right? And you can put that there. like that. Okay, you can make it even a little bit more accurate and go to a little bit closer like this, and there you are. So now I've got potential range high here and a potential range low. And how do I know it's accurate? Well, you don't know yet because it's literally just starting to form, right? But you can see that the point of control is already being respected. So there's a chance that if it goes up, it'll go up to here, right? So again, just context, right? Just start this again. Right, so the level that I'm watching now for longs is this level here, and that's $18,600, $18,640, $18,650. Okay, that's the level I'm paying attention to because we've already tapped it once here, twice here. We swept the lows, and now a retest of that for me would be the 3-tap clutch that many people trade on price action, and it would do something like this and then go up. Okay, well, especially because as it's coming down, everybody thinks that we're going much lower. Okay, so that's my plan. I want to look at 18,640 for a long position. Of course, if we go below that, then I won't be looking for longs, right? If it does something like this and then cannot get back inside of that range, then I'm looking for a short. But if it does this and claims the range again and then confirms that this level here is support, as always, that will be a long position and I'll still be targeting that. Okay, and this will be considered a deviation. But it's only really considered a deviation if we accept back above that value area low. Okay, so this is what you should be looking at when it comes to that volatility tomorrow or even today, right? Why am I looking at this level here? Well, obviously because it's the range low and potentially the value area low of the next range, right? And why am I looking at this one here and not 19,500? Well, I'm looking at that as well to fill out all of these single prints and all this inefficiency. But, you know, there's nothing saying that this couldn't just be going like this, just like it did here, right? On the previous range, we never got above, we never went back to that level. We just stayed within this range here, right? So you just got to play to what you've got in front of you, right? Of course, I'd love to see 19,700. Okay, potentially that could happen, but I'm looking at 19,120, 19,150 first and foremost, right? And if we can, come all the way up to here, and then it does something like this up to there, then I'll definitely enter a short here, because this is a previous level of support and this is a retest, and then I'll be targeting at least the value area high here, this area here, or potentially even this area there. Okay, so that's kind of how I'm playing this, right? So without giving, I'm trying not to give you too much information, but actually I've ended up just talking a lot of shit, haven't I? So I'm just trying to sort of help you out, guys. But anyway, that's what I'm looking at 18,640. Now I'm going to show you on Excel charts why I'm looking at that area, right? And I'm looking here at the footprint. Now when you look at this footprint, where did the majority of the negative volume occur, right? We'll make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Yes, there was plenty of sell orders down here, right? So this is from the dump. If you guys are not used to seeing a footprint, I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller, like this. I might even put this as a delta profile here, right? So this is basically where we were. We dumped, and we come all the way down here. And if you look at this in terms of volume profile, you can see here the great majority at the bottom here was sells, right? So those guys are already trapped there. So let's see how much there is in terms of volume. There's a lot going on there, right? And a lot of this, you know, if you look at this objectively, you can see here 10 million delta negative here, right? Which is basically where, let me just delete all of this stuff. Oh man, this is not going too well. Hang on a second. Excel charts is playing up a little bit. So a lot of this here is negative delta, but it actually comes from the long positions closing down, right? But then you had at least 5 million here in shorts opening, and another 4.4 million plus another 500,000 opening afterwards. So you've got about 10 million in shorts opening there, right? In terms of delta. Now, this area here is basically where all of those guys are trapped. So let me just delete all of this a second, because it's just going to do my head in. It's not even showing there. Alright. So these guys are all trapped there, right? Especially here you've got two imbalances, stacked imbalances. You've got 3.3 million, 3.4 million, and 7 million there. So I'm looking at that area. If the price is to do something like this, right, come back down a little bit, where do you think it's going to bounce? These guys are trapped. They can't wait to get out of break even. They sold at the bottom. So when the price comes back to them, they want to get out at break even. And of course that means that this is support, right? What's the price? 18,640. Like I showed you here, just so happens to be 18,640 right there, right at that range low. So you see how it all starts coming together? So with that out of the way, let's have a look at the market profile. So you guys can see what I'm trying to sort of like, I'm trying to paint a picture here so that you guys can see it, right? So let's have a look here on the higher time frames, volume profile. Now I'm going to take the naked points of control here just because there's too many lines, right? So let's just take that off. Now I've got three rectangles there to illustrate where the areas of balance are, right? So the reason for this is because you can't, I've only got 12 months of control composite volume profile there. So I have to use this, which is the same thing that you use on the candlestick charts on TradingView, right? So I'm just going to put this as a bid-ask profile so that you guys can see, right? So these high volume clusters here are basically what the rectangles are showing you. So between here, I'm just going to make this a bit bigger, between this area here and this area here, we've got this rectangle. And then we've got a point of imbalance right here, that low volume area, which acted as support for a while. But once we've broken below, that becomes resistance. So now we've got an area of balance between this level and this level, this area here. That's where we've been. And now we've just broken below that, right? With this being an imbalance, right? So now, are we going to get accepted all the way back down to 17K here, right? And rotate inside of there? Or, as you can see, there's a low volume node here, right? So maybe we just stay in between these two levels here. And that's why I've got this little rectangle inside the bigger area, right? So potentially I am looking at 17,500, 17,300 or whatever, which is this low volume node here, as the important level of support, right? If you look at this price area here, you can see that the price rotated inside of there like that, right? So that's potentially what could happen. But like I said, we've got high volume cluster just in here like this. As you can see here, we've got that low volume node there. So let me just delete all that. I just wanted to put things into context. Let me just remove this. So now you've got, there's that, you know, there's that area of consolidation that we had before, right? In terms of volume profile, you can see we kind of dipped below. Those guys got trapped. Price went to the other side of balance, came back down. When it came back down, these guys couldn't wait to get out break even, and it helped hold support here. These guys that were trapped long held as resistance for a while, but then we broke balance and we went up. Now we've got the other thing, the other way around happening, right? So, sorry, this is just moved here. So something like this. So we've got the opposite thing happening here, right? So as you can see from today's profile, we've already dipped below that little rectangle that I was talking about, right? So remember I was talking about we potentially have two areas here. We've got this area here that goes all the way to 17,400, takes out the previous lows, right? But we've also got this mini area in here that goes to about 18,600, right? So for now, I'm playing this area here. Of course, when we get all the way up there, I'm going to open a short. If we go all the way up here, 19,700, I'm going to open a short. Where will I be targeting? I'll be targeting potentially all the way down here, but mainly this area here and this area here. Okay? So I'm just going to draw it for a second. So where we're looking. Okay? So to put things in perspective, I'm looking at 18,640, which is around about here, for a long position, targeting this level and this level. Right? So 19,200, something like that, to 19,700. At those levels there, I'll be looking for shorts. So I'll be looking at the price doing something like this, and then accept back in here, go all the way down there, take profit here, close the trade there, right? Might take a short here. I might even wait for it to get accepted back inside of this balance by taking a short here instead, right? Less aggressive. So that's what I'm looking for if I'm in front of the computer. So I'm going to put some alerts on, right? If, however, we get all the way up here and we get accepted back inside of this, then this here is a long position and you'll be targeting 22k, right? Because that means we've just got accepted into a new balance area, and therefore we tend to travel to both sides of it to establish balance. But be under no illusion, you know, even if there's a little pullback on the S&P and a little bit of volatility to the upside, I'm not sure we're ready to go up to above 4,100 points, right? So we'll just wait and see. For now, this here is a target, this here is a target, both for my long and also a target for me to enter short positions, right? And I'll be targeting this level down here and this level down here. And we're playing between 17,500, 19,500, okay? That's this balance area that I'm playing at right now, okay? Obviously, I've identified that there's a little composite here, right? So I can play long from here to go up to this level here. But essentially, if you look at the bigger picture, you want to look at this somewhere between 19,500, 19,600, this area here, and 17,500. Okay, so this is the new composite, this new value area that we're in right now. Okay, so I hope this kind of makes it clear and helps illustrate what I was showing you on the candlestick charts, with the 19,640 being the level that I'm interested in going long. Okay, and then looking at this level here, potentially even, so like I said, this level here and potentially even this level here to go short. But we'll have to wait and see, right? On the candlestick charts, it's not really visible, but if I look at this on the market profile, it's really easy to see that we've got, I'm going to do it the other way, some anomalies here, right? We've got a naked value area low here. We've got all of this as single prints that we could potentially be closing in. But what I want you to pay close attention to is that we've got some trapped longs here and we've got some trapped longs there, right? 19,100 is where those trapped longs are. The other one is 19,700, right? Go back to the candlestick charts. Where's this level at? 19,100. Where's this one? 19,700. See how it all makes sense? This is all the single prints, right? So are we going to get, if we do get a pump, are we going to get stopped here where these guys are trapped, or are we going to get stopped there? Either way, I'm quite happy to enter a long position if we come all the way back down to where these guys here are all trapped. Like I said, 18,640. If we go all the way back here, I'm happy to take a long position. And like I said, I'll be targeting this level here and potentially that level there. I'll be stalking shorts here. I'll be stalking shorts there, just in case we start rolling over like that, right? But we could potentially go higher as well. So Just have to pay attention. All right, so that's basically what I'm saying. At the moment, I think that we are on our way up. I think we've already had plenty of down movement. There's plenty of shorts trapped at the bottom to cause us, to give us plenty of support there. So I don't think there's more room for the downside at the moment. Okay, I could be completely wrong, of course. So that's pretty much hit here on the market profile. What else is there? We've left a decent low here. You know, there's plenty of excess there. So the anomalies are to the upside, right? So we've got a poor high there. We've got a naked point of control at 19,800, but I'm not even looking at that. I'm just looking at this naked value area low. I'm looking at a session VWAP that's naked there as well in all of these single prints, right? But there's these bastards that got trapped long here that could act as resistance moving up. So we'll just have to wait and see. Are we just going to rotate sideways here for a while between 19,100 and 18,600? Or are we actually going to go a little bit higher? That's the real question. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing here on Bitcoin. So I suppose let's move on to Ethereum, if everybody's happy with that. As far as Ethereum goes, let's start with the higher time frames. Okay, so I'm going to take the VWAPs off a second, just to make this really, really easy, right? I've put this as rectangles again, right? So we've got a high volume cluster here, we've got another one here, and we've got another one here. It's like a triple distribution, right? This last one, you can see that it's a bit of a weird one because you've got a very prominent volume cluster inside a bigger cluster here, right? So with tapering volume at the bottom and tapering volume at the top. So let's just keep that in mind. And this is why I've got one little area inside the bigger area, if that makes sense, inside the bigger balance. All right, so the bigger balance area shows me somewhere between $880 and $1,400. Okay, get acceptance below $1,400 and we could bounce inside this one here, previous level of support, right? So even if we did something like this, we could bounce here and go straight back up again. So you just gotta be careful with that one, right? Because this here is pretty crap in terms of volume here, right? So this here is not very interesting volume. This here, however, it is, right? But we keep that $1,400 as the level of interest. Like I said to you guys last time I did a TA, or the time before that, I think I said $1,400 is the level you want to watch out for. And that's basically where we bounced here, $1,420, right? We reached the top there around about $2,020. I gave you that plenty in advance as well. We came all the way back down to the other side of balance. Now, moving forward, if everything goes down, you could expect to bounce around about this area, $1,400, like I said, right? If it keeps hovering at these lows here, eventually it'll break through, just like it did yesterday with Bitcoin, right? If it breaks through, like I said, we could find a little bounce here at around about $1,300. Look at the prominence of this high volume cluster. We could find a little bounce here at $1,300 and go all the way back up again. But even if it goes all the way back up, if this now becomes resistance, then that is an entry for a short, and you'll be targeting this level here, around about $1,000. Okay, of course it might not go straight down. Potentially, it could even just go something like this. Go back up again, stay inside that green one for a while, but eventually, entering a bigger balance area, eventually it will come to the bottom again. Okay, and it will do this whole circle. All right, so that's my view on Ethereum right now. But we're not there yet, right? We're still well inside this volume cluster here, and we've just tapped the bottom. So with the merge coming in the next couple of days, we'll have to wait and see if everything goes well and Ethereum, the whole thing is a success and everything. Ethereum could potentially be going higher, right? Because it's proof of stake, meaning that there's less people scared, there's less people with the coins ready to be sold just in case some shit hits the fan or whatever. and they might stake it long term, and this means less selling pressure, which means that Ethereum could be heading higher. Okay, there's two sides to that narrative, and it could be heading higher back to $2,000. However, in terms of market dynamics, there's not going to be as much liquidity and not as much interest in people buying Ethereum once this whole merge thing comes to an end, right? So we could potentially just see the weakness that we have been seeing on Bitcoin and on the S&P in the last sort of couple of months, which Ethereum hasn't seen, right? So a little pullback there. That's it. So Ethereum is looking strong compared to Bitcoin, and as a result of that, you know, it could be something to do with the merge or whatever, but as a result of that, the price is still up here. What happens after the merge? If there's something that happens that's wrong, or if people are just not interested in buying Ethereum anymore because that narrative is out the way now, what's holding the price up there? Not much, right? So we could potentially head ourselves down here. So $1,400 is definitely the contention point, right? So you want to look at this area here, 1,400, and previous level of resistance here, where we kind of rotated here, right? Potential level of support. Get accepted below this level here at $1,260, and we're almost certainly going to $1,000, right? So get accepted inside of here, does like this, and starts curling over to the side, meaning that it's getting rejected from the prices above. We're almost certainly going here, okay? Potentially even as low as this down here. So that's it, really. If we've already bounced here at 1,400 and we're going up now, so you'll be looking at around about this level here, $1,600 as a potential level of resistance. You'll be looking at around about $1,850 here. These two levels, these two little low volume nodes, but ultimately you'll be looking at this level here, $2,000 as your target. And that means that we're rotational inside of this cluster here, right? This balance area. So if you can imagine if this was a market profile, it would look something like this, right? With the point of control way down here at the moment, right? Which is where basically where this is here, right? Which is basically where we're struggling to get above right now, right? So we could potentially be going all the way to value area high, which is all the way up there. And that's basically it. So we're inside of this balance area until proven otherwise, right? There's nothing telling me that we're heading down. We're just putting forward the possibility that with the merge, if anything goes wrong, we could be heading down. If there's a lack of interest of buyers, we could be heading down. But if nothing changes and everything goes well, then yeah, I mean, we could still be inside of this and rotational inside of this. So we could just be doing this for a while, right? So it all depends on the S&P and Bitcoin as well, right? So that's all I've got here for Ethereum on the candlesticks. Let's have a look at Ethereum on order flow and just see if I can make any fucking sense out of this. So, not this one. What happened there? No, I won't be looking at the order flow, even though I had that a minute ago. I had all those charts for Ethereum way down here, and now I don't, because let me just close this a second and I'll reopen it. Just bear with me just a second. Exo charts is playing up. I think it's because it was on standby for a while. Let me see if I can get all that fired up again. There we go. There's the Ethereum charts. So we'll just have to wait a minute. So whilst we're waiting for that, I hope everybody's clear on that, right? So on the lower time frames, let's have a, so that's basically balance, right? Let's actually look at the lower time frames and delete some of those lines. All right. So that's on the 3-day chart. Let me take all the balance areas off. So in terms of VWAP, so we'll look at the long-term VWAPs here on Ethereum. So we're very close. Again, we're right at the 2021 value area low, right? We're also very close to the current year's value area low there, and we've already bounced on this low volume node, like I said, at around about $1,400. On the quarterly VWAP, we're currently we got rejected at the previous quarter's VWAP close, right here, right? We got accepted back inside the quarterly value, which was acting, value area high was acting as support. We bounced inside it, got below it, and now we're just kind of dancing around the value, right? So we're just below the current quarter VWAP. On the monthly, fuck's sake. On the monthly here, we are currently below the monthly VWAP. We've also accepted below the previous month, so the month of July here, value area high, okay, which also has confluence with the value area low of the previous month, the month of August, right? So we've got a balance area here, and we've got a balance area here. And at the moment, it does look like it's accepting above here, right? But we've got, like I said, we've got two big low volume nodes below us here, up until $1,300. So that's support until proven otherwise. However, if we do not bounce here, we do not reclaim that monthly VWAP, we could be heading lower. But I'm just trying to illustrate here what we're seeing on the long-term VWAPs, right? So we're seeing that we're at the value area low of 2021. We're below the quarterly, we're below the monthly and the previous quarterly. And the previous monthly here, value area high, prior value. So on the weekly, there's not really much to be said other than the fact that we're in balance. We're still just rotating here. It's rotating here sideways, right? So my personal opinion is that even if we do see a little bit of a lower price here, this level here has to hold. This level here has to hold. This is where the low volume node here is, around about $1,400. We've got, what's this, 1368, right? If that doesn't hold, that means we're accepted inside of this high volume cluster here. And of course, like I showed you, areas of balance, right? If we're inside, rotational inside of this now, right? And we're going to be doing this. Once we get to this bottom here, this level here will be resistance. So this will be a little bit trickier, right? Which is basically what I just showed you with those balance areas. It's exactly the same thing, right? But even if we go a little bit lower, like I said, around about 1400, 1380 should be your levels of support. In terms of resistance, at the moment, like I said, we've got the monthly VWAP, right? Let me just delete all of these drawings. The monthly VWAP lines up with the month of July value area high. It also lines up, let me just put this so you can see it on all time frames, lines up perfectly with the previous week, as you can see here on the bottom left hand corner, the previous week VWAP close, which also lines up with the quarterly VWAP here, right? Around about $1,560. It's actually around about $1,600. Okay, so if we break above the weekly and the monthly VWAP, $1,600 is where I'm looking for. Straight after that. Then $1,600 will be strong resistance, but if we can break above $1,600, right, which is where this low volume node is, then the next level that I'll be looking for is the previous month VWAP close at around about $1,700 and potentially even $1,800 where this low volume area is. Okay, but at the moment, as you can see, we're rotational inside of this. We're just going sideways here inside of this balance area here. So let's just wait and see what happens. Are we going to be accepted below? If so, we're going to go much lower to all, like I said, to around about $1,100, $1,000. If we stay within it, then we're likely to go to $1,800. And that's basically it, $1,800, $2,000. Okay, so let's have a look at extra charts and see if we can make any sense out of it. So let's start with the weekly volume profile here. Got no naked points of control below, but it's exactly the same that I was showing you. We've got a naked point of control above us here around about $1,665, right? And you can see that we've got that massive gap in volume down here all the way to just below $1,300, right? If you look at this, it's exactly the same that I was showing you on the candlestick chart, right? It's no different at all. This area here just has perfect confluence with where the previous level of resistance is. So if the price comes all the way down here, it's likely that it will find support at $1,300 and go back up. But there's no guarantee. We'll just have to wait and see if it gets accepted inside of here or not, right? For now, this level here, 1400 is support. And then potentially we could be heading higher to 1900, maybe even $2,000 all the way up there. Okay, we'll just have to wait and see. So that's on the weekly. If I look at the daily volume profile, it's a little bit better here. We've got a naked point of control just below us at $1,450. And like I said, we've got another one at around about $1,660. Okay, so it's visible on the weekly and on the daily. But this naked point of control here is important on the daily, $1,450. So we could see another little pullback down here. Okay. In terms of market profile, in terms of anomalies, like I said, we've got $1,450 or whatever it is for the naked point of control, and we've also got that naked point of control above us, 1664. More importantly, what I see here is that we've got a poor low and some single prints below us. Okay, so we've got a poor low around about $1,488, and we got some single prints at around about $1,468. Okay, in terms of anomalies to the upside, there's not many other than that naked point of control and a naked value area low at $1,623. Okay, $1,676 for the next one, and then we've got a naked value area high here at $1,700, and we've got finally loads of single prints at around about $1,800 all the way up here, right? But in terms of like importance for me is recency and proximity, right? When it comes to market profile, right? And this is recent. This poor low and the proximity for this naked point of control there, right? Additionally, if you look carefully, we've also got a poor low there, which is inside this whole balance area here. So we got to be careful with that one, and that's sitting at around about $1,400. All right, so, but you know, there's a poor low there. They don't have a great hit rate, to be honest, on Ethereum, right? We've left poor highs here all the time. We leave poor highs all the time. Okay, here we took out that previous one, right? But I'm not too interested in the poor highs and the poor lows because obviously Ethereum gets dragged around by Bitcoin a lot. But, you know, importantly is that we do have a poor low here. We've got a naked point of control and we've got some single prints below us, right? Above us, we've got these single prints here. We've got a naked value area low, point of control, and then we've got a naked value area high up here. And all those single prints up there at $1,800. So we'll just have to wait and see. We're rotational inside of this big velvet cluster here. So we'll just have to wait and see. Do we carry on rotating inside of here like we have done? Or what? Are we going to go lower? Right? That's basically what we want to see here. And that's it for Ethereum versus USD here. I think that's pretty much it. I think I've taken long enough of your time. I could have a look at Ethereum versus BTC and just see if anything strange is happening. No. Ethereum versus BTC, we're still, you know, second standard deviation has been acting as resistance for quite some time. That's around about 84,000 points. Okay, so 84,000 sats. So that's basically, in fact, let me just check something. I'm sure I had some levels here. I've deleted them. Support and resistance. Okay, but either way, this here is a huge level of support, right? The yearly VWAP is previous year value area high, right? And I'm pretty sure that there's a trend line that goes all the way to June 2021, this trend line here, as you can see, we bounced there, bounced there, bounced there. We lost it there, reclaimed it here. And that has perfect confluence to where we are with that yearly VWAP. Right? So this here, 70,000 sats, is an interesting level of support. It's a very strong level of support. Failing that one, I think 65,000 sats is going to be even stronger. Right? If Ethereum starts showing weakness versus Bitcoin. If Ethereum dumps, but Bitcoin is dumping as well, then this is not going to change anything. Ethereum will stay up here, right? And the next level of support will be around about here, 75,000. Right? 75,000 sats. So, support, very strong support, and support as well. In terms of resistance, starting to look at perhaps this level here. Maybe 110,000 sats, 100,000 sats, right? But there's just really we're pretty much at all-time highs if that's the case there. So in terms of resistance, I wouldn't pay much attention to it. And that's it really. So there's no point of doing lower time frame kind of analysis on this for Ethereum versus BTC. Yeah, we're above all key levels. I mean, here on the quarterly, you can see that we're still bouncing on the value area high of the current quarter. So Ethereum is looking very strong. Now what happens is that this merge, will we see some weakness coming into Ethereum, or will it continue to be strong? And that kind of all depends if everything goes well or not. Anyway, I hope this was useful. I'm sorry if I waffled on and told you all about how I plan to trade this or whatever, but I hope it kind of helps you. I know I'm not doing these as regularly as I used to. I probably do it once a week or whatever, but at least you've got the plan for the rest of the week. I hope it hasn't taken too much of your time, and I hope it helps you moving forward. I'll have another TA update for you guys next week at some point, or perhaps at the end of this week. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. And yeah, trade smart, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.